Our first speaker has the unique distinction of being a diplomat scientist at the same time. Being one of our leading experts on the environment and climate change and even disaster risk, he applies data analytics to push science-based policy solutions. Now, for all of his work, he has been the sole Filipino to receive the prestigious United Nations Sasakawa Laureate for Disaster Risk Reduction. At the Foreign Service Institute of the Department of Foreign Affairs, for instance, he handles environmental diplomacy, climate diplomacy, disaster diplomacy, and science diplomacy. He is Glenn Banaguas, Environmental and Climate Change Research Institute President.
Whenever we talk about climate smart, we refer to two particular solutions. We are after for the climate change mitigation, and the other one is climate change action. A trip to resilience and sustainability, wherein I'm going to provide you what TRIP is all about. Okay, under climate change adaptation, a trip to resilience and sustainability, we follow a certain framework. And I call this framework Track Risk Impact Policy Framework, where T stands for track assessment, R stands for risk assessment, I stands for impact assessment, and P stands for policy. Under this particular assessment, this is what we always consider every time there is a disaster that happens, brought by different climate hazards such as tropical cyclones, your flooding, your drought, your sea level rise. So it's not just one particular solution. It has to be addressed by different types of assessment in order to address and tackle these different enigmatic conditions. So under the track assessment, we consider the human resources and demographics. The people who are living in the province, the people who are living in the city, and people who are living in the municipality. We also want to include the historical analysis. What happened there before? What is happening right now? So it's just a matter of comparing what really happened in a certain province and what is happening right now. And it's really very important for a scientist or for an analyst to understand the scenarios. Number 3 is about scenarios, trends, and projections. Now, why do we need to include climate scenarios and projections in the analysis? Another assessment is also important. So you don't just determine the track. You don't just determine the rainfall and temperature for the next 30 years, because it is also important to conduct a comprehensive risk assessment. And this is very, very much this is known. And in this particular framework, wherein risk is assessed as a function of hazard, exposure, vulnerability. Here's one example of what we did in the past. One of our research works. The hazard is tropical cyclone. The exposure is the population. The vulnerability is the Human Development Index. So if you look at the very first map, the color is red. So the redder the color, it means that there are more tropical cyclones that enter the Philippine area of responsibility, and they made their landfall in the Luzon area. Exposure, the bluer the color, it only means that there are more population in that particular area. And the vulnerability, the bluer the color, it means that the lowest were HDI, or the Human Development Index. So you just have to integrate your hazard, exposure, and vulnerability. Then you will be able to calculate or estimate your risk. So the impact assessment, by the way, this is where the qualitative approach comes in. It's not only limited to the technical aspect or the how would you call that, the quantitative aspect of the research, but it's also important to know the real experiences of the people, and these can only be validated by talking to them through focus group discussion or through key informant interviews, and that's the reason why we talk all these stakeholders. Now, in the biophysical assessment, there are tools that we provide. So it's, for instance, if you talk about biophysical, how many tropical cyclones do you encounter? So those are some of the questions. If you talk about socioeconomic assessment, for example, for the farmers, what was your yield before? What is your yield right now? For the fishery sector, what about your fish catch? How are you going to compare your fish catch before and what is your fish catch now? So these are just some of the questions. Now, we included in our research institute, we included the psychological assessment and the religious and spirituality. Why psychological? Because we really want to understand. In 2013, when Super Typhoon Haiyan or Yolanda made its landfall, So the projects and programs, we want to make sure that the programs and projects that are going to be developed and implemented are aligned to the international and the national climate change action plan. Wherein these 7 priority areas are your food security, sustainable energy, water sufficiency. You also have your human security, the number 5, ecological environmental stability. Number 6, you have the climate smart services and disaster resilient infrastructure. And number 7, you have the knowledge management capacity building. Again, like I mentioned, we want to make sure that the projects and programs that are going to be implemented in the business sector, all right, are aligned to the international and national frameworks. And then after that, you move on to your action plans. That's all. So basically, the Climate Smart Philippines, like what I mentioned, is, well, it's more than a program. It's more than a project, because what we do is really more empowerment and to create empowerment of the different stakeholders in order to create positive impacts and changes in the lives of our people. That's all, and thank you very much for listening.